good for the Hebrew children. 'Twas good for the Hebrew children. 'Twas good for the Hebrew children, and it's good enough for me. The old-time religion, the old-time religion, the old-time religion is good enough for me. It's good when I'm in trouble. It's good when I'm in trouble. It's good when I'm in trouble, and it's good enough for me. The old-time religion, the old-time religion, the old-time religion is good enough for me. It's good when I am dying. It's good when I am dying. It's good when I am dying, and it's good enough for me. The old-time religion, the old-time religion, the old-time religion is good enough for me. Till the old-time religion, the old-time religion, the old-time religion is good enough for me.
Good evening, everybody. We're back. This is Jonathan Evigilans. I am followed again with IT and Warspirit. So, this evening, we've got actually quite a bit of good stuff to talk about. Something that I was hoping wouldn't develop has developed further, that being the big coronavirus. We have a discussion topic considering coronavirus, 308 rifles,
and an update on
update on Mrs. Krause, the poor girl who went missing here just, was it about a month ago now? It truly is tragic, that. Lord, thank you for bringing us all here today. Thank you for blessing us as we go about our everyday lives. Lord, I pray for Marie Krause. I pray that you bring her to safety, Lord. And I pray that answers become clear and that comfort covers her family. Lord, I pray for those in Wuhan. I pray that, that this sickness is nothing compared to your mighty power, Lord, and it isn't. But I pray that you start to heal and that you bring revival throughout these lands through this virus, Lord, or other means necessary. I just mean, Lord, whatever goes on in life, let it be your will. Lord, please protect us from anything that may harm us. Protect America, Lord, in these dark times. Protect the San Juan County Sheriff's Department and other police as they go about, and let them remember their promises to us as people. Thank you, Lord, and just bless us as we go along with this podcast. Amen. Amen. So, where are we opening up? We might as well open up with the coronavirus if you want to pull up the ghost town, which was something you educated me on. So we just pulled up this photo on the screen right now. This is an empty street with not a single soul in sight. There's people in these buildings, but they're not out and about.
Right.
So it's not technically a ghost town rather than it's just there's nobody outside. Mm-hmm. Wuhan has been quarantined, and I thought that quarantine was like they just kind of like put a wall around it that nobody could leave. But they went as far as like nobody can step outside.
I don't know if it's enforced like legally, but I know a lot of people are choosing to stay inside. More, right. I don't know like what.
Like
that
they don't want
is.
to catch it.
Exactly.
Right. Because
so
it's
people are staying inside. People are obviously skipping work, obviously, right. And people are saying that they are doing like exercises and stuff so they don't get bored in their house and
right.
things like that. It's been to the point where people just don't go outside.
Right, which is understandable. I mean, if it became widespread here, I don't think I personally would want to go outside personally. And that is looking at it, just how bad could this possibly be? It's hard telling because
it's still kind of early, but
right.
some people, like one of the leading actual individuals as far as like comments on disease were stating that it's hard to tell, but they were thinking that the peak would come in about 10 days. after when that was stated, which was probably on what is today, the 31st. It's probably on the 28th.
Yeah, somewhere around there. So,
So they're saying that the peak was going to be on the 28th, and so we're past.
Well, no. That they mentioned it on the 28th.
Okay.
But they mentioned it on the 28th, and or somewhere around there. That could not be factual, but they said that they would see the peak in about 10 days, 2 weeks. So that was the time frame, because I mean, even modeling population, you can see that spike, but it's hard to tell what that peak will be, what the numbers will be. You know what I'm saying? As far as lethality right now, I believe there's 213.
so according to that's right. It's
WHO. And I think the last time I checked, it was 6,000 people were confirmed infected.
Right.
Correct?
I think it's actually 9,500 now.
Okay.
You're looking at almost 10,000 people
infected, right?
Which is
it's not,
and that's in Wuhan,
exactly,
right.
or
surrounding areas.
Right.
China as a whole, but that's over in China,
right?
We do have a new case here now
in America. Where?
Yes.
What state do you have?
It was Chicago.
Okay,
and it's actually the new case, and this is the first human-to-human official case here in the United States. So a lady that was in Wuhan came back to Chicago, and she got sick. Well, a week later, her husband, who was not in Wuhan, also contracted it.
Well, yeah, and that's just... I mean, this whole concept of it's not human to human. It's like, well, then how is it so contagious? I mean... Well, lethality, question mark on lethality, I get that, because it's China and there's a lot of people, so with that many people in a small amount of area, you're going to have a big reaction. The common cold.
Right.
I would like to pull up a stat in China. How many, people does the common cold, kill every week? And
I do know that they said that the flu killed 61,000 people last year in the United States, which is weird. You're you don't realize that
the flu. I mean, the flu. Yeah. You should be more. As of right now, the flu should be more of a concern on your radar.
At least in America, but the reason, yes and no. The problem why this is on our radar, or the reason is that, as you said, it's 4 times more contagious than was it the common flu?
Than the common flu. But my fear why it's on my radar is that these numbers are not accurate. My fear is that these numbers are there, that the Chinese government are hiding these numbers, and it's already been proven they did that with SARS.
Yes, that's why it got so bad.
Yeah.
What was the excuse me, words are not coming out of my mouth. The height of that, wasn't it 5,000 infected or something like that, with a 36% lethality, which was insane.
Yeah. So that's my fear is this official false number reporting of 9,500. Yeah. What if it's double that? And we just don't know.
We have cases, like you said. There's cases of planes going through screenings in Japan that have turned up with it.
Well, that's just it. Yeah, just last week or earlier this week, there was a flight that went from Wuhan to Japan, and they found 3 infected in that one plane. Mm-hmm. And the Japanese government has their laws. They were strongly urging people to be tested as they was getting off the plane.
Right.
But legally, they couldn't make you be tested. And there was 2 people that refused testing. So, and I mean, you're talking about Japan. They're a little island. Yeah. So that'd really be bad if they had an outbreak.
What would they do? Exactly.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go.
Exactly.
And they're jam-packed just as bad or worse than the Chinese. And so there's a real problem. And that's why the World Health Organization actually declared a you okay?
Coronavirus.
I guess so.
Sorry about
that. They declared a global health emergency as a threat the threat rises in China. Uh-huh. And that was huge. When I heard that, a buddy of mine texted me and said, "Hey, did you hear that they did that?" I'm like, and he told me it was the U.S. that did it, and I'm like, you're in the U.S.?
Yeah. So I got a call from Warspirit here today. He said, "Did you hear anything because he wasn't even sure. Did you hear anything?
I was
about
busy.
a United States state of emergency?
That's what I got attached. A Marine buddy.
I think your friend confused the World Health Organization with apparently the United States.
And you know who you are because you're listening right now, and I want to cuss you out, brah, but I'm not gonna do it because I'm gonna be clean.
Stop the van. I'm like, I'm going home.
Boss, can I go home?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay home.
Right.
I mean, these people. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
So I got on the computer and looked right away. I called John here, and we kind of got it figured out that it was. I mean, but this is a legit from the Wall Street Journal article, but it's the WHO talking about it.
Yeah, the WHO statistics.
Yeah, and it's a global health emergency.
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah,
right. Because it's not like a local thing. Like imagine if. New Mexico was like, yeah, we have a state of emergency. Well, that's you.
Right.
It's right in your face.
And you got to understand, so state of emergency in the United States, say it does get that bad, okay? Let's go worst case scenario. And they actually call a state of emergency in the United States. That means they can declare martial law, and they can require people to stay in their homes, and they can do a curfew and all this.
Shut off water, electricity as needed.
So now... Hold on one second.
Sorry.
I'm going to give you your deal here.
Yeah.
But so now you got FEMA taking care of stuff, and we all know how good FEMA does bullcrap. Look at freaking the hurricanes. Hurricane Katrina showed how piss poor. Sorry, that's kind of a cuss word, but I'm going to say it. How piss poor they did with Katrina.
Seriously, yeah. Well, I was just saying, like, how many state of emergencies are we, like, currently in? Like, I remember Trump saying there was, like, a state of emergency because of the border crisis. And, I mean, while the border crisis is bad, like, it needs solved, and I'm not even going to jump into that mess.
He said we were in a state of emergency, but he didn't declare a state of emergency. There's a difference.
Well, and I understand that there's a difference, but it's like... how many times has there been declared like a state of emergency, like throughout the U.S.?
I haven't looked. There hasn't been very many times. I know during World War II, unfortunately, when we rounded up all the Japanese, that was declared a state of emergency.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's kind of vague because it's like you don't see it as often.
You don't. It was a thing that was used more back in the day.
Right.
I mean, just like back in the day, they also used the National Guard to break up a lot of like riots and stuff. You don't see that anymore. Law enforcement does that.
Right. Was the Cuban Missile Crisis perhaps a state of emergency? Do you think?
Yes and no. But it wasn't anything to where they actually during the Cuban Missile Crisis. They didn't declare martial law, but I'll tell you something interesting with the Cuban Missile Crisis. Ham radio operators were not allowed to use their systems during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Went dark.
That's nuts.
Huh.
And they had what are called fox hunters. Whenever you're transmitting on a radio, guys, you make a signal. And that signal can be triangulated. I think we've actually talked about this kind of in short before. But that triangulation, I can figure out where you are. And they actually had government officials listening to make sure that no quote-unquote Americans were talking to the commies over in Cuba.
Right, that there wasn't any information.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a big deal. And they let ham guys know, y'all better not be talking on your radio.
Shut up!
The FCC was out in force.
Right. And, that's kind of also an interesting thing. Like, what if, communication, like, say that a martial law comes into play here with a state of emergency. Maybe even before martial law, it's like, hey, like, say Facebook is cut off, different things like that to just, like, keep people, like, from... communicating like a meetup or anything like that, just like simple.
If it was something like coronavirus or something like where people were sick, right. I don't think that they would, especially like ham operators and stuff. They might quell social media,
right.
But I don't think they would mess with ham operators because statistically and historically, ham radio operators have actually helped get news to people.
Right.
Well, so, back in the day, like back during like the Great Cold War, when everyone was scared of nukes, it was always like bring a radio or especially a ham radio down to your fallout shelter,
right?
And like listen and
well,
like, talk and that
even during Katrina, ham radio operators actually helped authorities get information from the hurricane victims
Right.
back. And so that was very recent. That was
Right,
used.
which is really neat. But on that note of coronavirus, we have a virus that's ridiculously contagious. I don't think we've ever seen something like on the level of a flu that was this. I mean, it could be argued because I watched the documentary on the Spanish flu. It was bad. Like, I mean, it was really bad. But again, the Spanish flu, you know, if you didn't really... I mean, if you stayed, like, a ways away from sick people and weren't in contact with them for more than a few moments, you'd probably be okay.
And if you didn't speak Spanish, right? Oh, no, is that how it works?
This isn't phantom pain. Okay?
Right.
It's not a vocal cord
Oh,
disease.
okay, my bad. My bad.
So going back to that question with what is declared as a state of emergency, basically right now the World Health Organization is like all countries who have persons that are suspected to have the coronavirus, they need to be tested and they need to have results sent to the WHO legally. Like you are legally obligated to do this.
Right.
Beyond that, any detection in an animal, including information about the species, what diagnostic tests were performed, and the relevant epidemiological information should be reported to the World Organization for Animal Health, as it could be an emerging disease. As of right now, we don't think pets can transmit or receive the virus.
I'm sorry, bro, but if little Fluffy's got the coronavirus, he's
Yeah.
about to get the lead injection.
Yeah, exactly. Right. He's about to be put out of his misery.
Just make sure that brain splatter's outside.
Right.
Well, I mean, yeah.
The big thing, it came from like obviously animals, and some people have said that like even pigs can carry it. You know?
Well, speaking of that, like, I mean, personally, you know me, I've made comments on it. When it comes to, like, saving life at the cost of animals, like human life, I don't give a shit. Like,
right.
Excuse me, yeah, I know we're not trying to cuss, pardon me, but that's one thing, like, when it comes to, like, getting rid of animals to save, like, a human life, go ahead, you know? Which is funny because there's a lot of people outraged in the United States because in Wuhan, and I don't know, there's just one link I saw on it. I didn't even bother clicking on it, but apparently people are throwing their pets and stuff out of their windows and stuff in Wuhan right now. To, you know, like, they're killing their pets because, like, well, their pets, you know, probably, like, looked over them. I mean, the cat threw up a hairball, so obviously it's got coronavirus, you know, out the window.
Right. Yeah, but it's not confirmed right now as far as companion pets. Like,
right.
But as far as, you know, like pigs, bats, rats probably.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, I think it really is. It's like, I don't think they have I don't think they're going to let us know for, like, a truthful standpoint where this came from.
Right.
No, like, because that's what I heard, like, the first week. Oh, it's because they're putting bats in soup. And then I heard it was because they're putting snakes in burgers.
It was a fish market.
Yeah.
Right now, the official report is that a fish market in Wuhan was known to be where patient zero was.
Yeah, and, you know, it's kind of like the weather balloon at that respect, you know. Like, you see a UFO, oh, it's a weather balloon.
Right.
And every time there's a new, like, epidemic in China, oh, it's a food market.
Right.
Every time, the swine flu, H1N1,
right.
Everything. It was always the pigs were sick, so now we're sick, which, I mean, it makes sense. Pigs are very similar to humans in DNA. So there's that. But, you know, like, so to actually talk about this, and I'm going to actually go in and jump on that card now. Me and Warspirit, we know medical officials. We've spoken to a few of them. And, you know, just like a lot of people, they're normal people, and you can get a hold of them just like any other day. And we asked them, it's like, okay, so are you aware? Like, you know, and of course, everyone's aware of this coronavirus outbreak. Mm-hmm. And you ask them, it's like, hey, are you guys, like, what are you guys doing to, like, prepare for this new flu? Like, yeah, not even in the sense of, like, you know, it's the end of the world. If it shows up, you're going to die. You know, not even from that. Because we're not sure. Right. You know, I don't think anybody is right now. But that's why it's so fascinating. Because it's ridiculously contagious. And it is, well, at least it's 213 people so far, which is really not that much in all things considered. It's a worry. So, like, with any new outbreak at all, like, even in workplaces, I remember being, when I was over at Walmart, it was like, if there was a new flu thing, it'd be like, here's a new like standard, start putting like use your hand sanitizer over here. You ask these medical professionals, there's nothing. There's nothing there. Like they're not preparing for this. And they're not like doing anything. It's just like, oh well, if it shows up, it shows up. It's like, do you realize how contagious this is? Like, so if it shows up in a hospital, like surprise, somebody's feeling sick, they go to the hospital and they don't know what it is. Well, everyone in the emergency room, if they went there, is going to potentially catch it. The doctor who inspects them is going to get it. The nurses who handle them are going to get it. And then all of them, it's just going to be, it's just going to explode.
Mm-hmm. The CDC put out a report that was like, watch out. Like, healthcare professionals especially need to take, I mean, if it's not so much that, it's hard to say. The thing that is so difficult to put like a pin on is we live in a fairly remote location, right? Maybe someone comes from China, right, which is not impossible, but it's highly unlikely, right? I think given our location, we should be fine.
Well,
yes,
but we're also looking at the 2-week induction, like
the flu.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. How many people from here go to vacation in California?
Exactly. And I'm not.
They come back.
Right. Exactly.
You don't have to have a Chinese person here.
Exactly. No, I understand, but you also have to understand the flu. The flu's been around much, much longer than the coronavirus, right?
Sure.
How do hospitals handle that? It's going to be the exact same way, right? They're going to put a mask on. If somebody's really sick, they're going to ask everybody to your discretion, would you like to put a mask on? Or if somebody's coughing or sneezing, please put a mask on.
And that's what's crazy about this because, as time went on, we understand that this isn't just something that you get like, coughing in people's faces is
droplet based.
Effing rude. Like,
right.
I've had people do that, like, who are sick as a dog come in my store when I was working at Shamrock Foods and just like, hey, bro, do you know the, like, cough in my face?
Right.
And it's like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And it's just like, but anyways, what I mean by that, it's like, it's not even something that you have to like technically breathe in through your mouth and it can go into your eyes, and I heard it can go into your ears.
Any mucus membrane.
And all the way down to like, especially I'm messed up because my fingernails.
Cuts on your hands.
Yeah.
Well, that's just how disease happens. It's just any mucus membrane will receive it.
And I read somewhere, I forgot where I read it, but they were talking about like, so it's not airborne as far as like flying around.
It's just droplet.
A microscopic water droplet from a cough can actually travel 90 feet
away from someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they recommend that you wear proper
PPE.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Proper face wear. That's just how it works.
Yeah, and if you look at Wuhan, it's not the average like flu thing that we see like our doctors wear. What our doctors wear would be like a surgical mask and like, that's it. Like some gloves and a surgical mask. That's not going to be enough, as we know. And if you look at like Wuhan, they're wearing the face shield, goggles, a mask.
Well, yeah, in quarantine situations, people are required to has up. I mean, even in American doctors, they have it ready because there has been situations where something not so much new but unheard of has broken out. And they're like, we don't know what this is.
Well, when we had the Ebola scare a couple years ago, and that lady from Texas, that nurse, she contracted it. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, they were like wearing the full stuff,
because they just didn't know what it was.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing is when it comes to unknown, precautions are taken.
Well,
you know what I mean?
And that's the reason why usually, and that's the reason why I kind of have a problem with why they're doing it, or how they're doing it. Usually healthcare professionals, they overreact because then you can always scale back down once you got a handle on what you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. But it's always easier to overreact because that way you're safe.
Exactly.
Because as a healthcare professional, if you all get sick, who's going to take care of you?
Exactly. Who's going to take care of the sick? I mean, exactly. And that even goes back to, like tactically speaking, if a fighter goes down, who's going to fight for those who can't?
Well, that's the Saving Private Ryan. They talk about the medic. He's running out and he throws him down. He says, "You moron!" He did say he cusses. And he said, "Who's going to take care of you if you get shot?"
Right. I mean, and that's just it. You just can't. You can't have that in
and this scenario. Is like, so like we're talking about like the contagion, this contagious deal. that takes 2 weeks is like a minimum before you even start to like realize.
But people have even said that people that didn't even show signs said that they were, as far as the unknown is concerned, right now we're even looking at the possibility of people having no symptoms just like you and I, but
they're contagious.
Yeah, like right now, that's what's so scary about this.
In Japan, on that plane, showed no signs but they had it. Mm-hmm. They were contagious, two of them.
Yep. Which is like, like right now, how widespread is this? Is it like in the next week or whatever, like me, you, or one of us three, or all three of us just like, oh crap, we just like, we cough and we're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, it's hard to say because like, statistically speaking, based on the rates and stuff like that, you can usually find out where the plateau is going to be and things of that. It just happens. I mean, you can even look at rabbit populations and you'd be surprised at how much it just plateaus to where there's a very up and down change. You know what I mean? It's balanced. So, I mean, that's a concern. The big thing right now is getting rid of it. That's the big thing that people... I mean, yes, it's spreading, but as far as we know, it's not... I think it's still, 2%, something like that? Like, 213 people out of 9,500 doesn't sound bad at all. Right. Yes, it sucks. Terrible, awful that those people died. SARS was at a 36% lethality rate, which is insane. That would be horrific, in my opinion. But right now, people who are at risk, if you have autoimmune disorders, any type of immune-related deficits, if you're elderly, if you're young, asthma, fun stuff like that.
Can we edit the live stream?
Oh, yeah. I can do that real quick.
Yeah, because you didn't change the date, mate.
But, yeah, anyways, while I'm doing that, the words are not coming out of my mouth right now.
Sorry, I just noticed. I was like, oh, what's this? We might also change the thumbnail. Yeah, but, yeah, it's just, as you're saying, it's a very up and down thing. And, as me and Warspirit have gone over, I don't want to cause, like, a fear-mongering panic. And I don't want to, like, cause worry. We have a lot of worry going on as it is, just with our everyday lives. Yep. And I wouldn't want someone to, like, get ahead of themselves and really miss an important detail and just, there you go. But something to pay attention to, it's like I said, the real threat right now is the contagion. Just like, because, I travel different states just as an everyday thing, and I see, and just like everybody, we interact with people once we have a job. Like, our job... in almost anything, unless you're like, just, I guess, work out of the home or something, you're going to interact with people every day. And then, like, shopping at markets, too. And even in our rural area, like, we have the most busy Walmart, like, back in the day, like, in the United States. Like, I don't even know how that's possible. But, yeah, it's true. And, I've seen Russians there. I've seen Chinese. I've seen Korean. I've seen all kinds of nationalities. And... with something like that, as contagious as this is, I'm led to believe, like, if someone coughs on an airplane, the whole airplane is boned. Because that's the level of, like, airborne they're talking about, which is, water droplets, they cough and that sort of thing. So that's where I'm like, in the next week, it's hard to tell. But I do want to give us a little bit of credit, because I did call last podcast that our economy would potentially take a dip. Not like bad, not yet, but hey, our stocks went down. All of
400 points in the Dow.
Yeah.
I saw that reported,
like the day after our podcast, too. It was a boop.
Right.
And it was like right there, because everyone's like, whoa, what's this? Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's the thing, like everyone I've met and everyone I've heard on television, it's not that big a deal. Don't worry about it. But people are a little worried. And I think maybe that is because, well, surprise, surprise, it's a communist country, and downplaying for communists is like breathing, Oh, it's not that bad. Our glorious nation? Nah, nothing bad happens here. But, like Warspirit brought up, maybe it's like Chernobyl again. They're just lying about it to kind of hide their butt. Well, and the only reason that it got out is because it's worse than they're letting us know. Because... they can't hide something once it gets bad enough.
Right. That's the big thing that I think China is learning from its SARS epidemic. Because we're talking about a country that right now could face economic ruin.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's just
famine
logical.
in a matter of weeks.
Well, and that's, you're talking about, how we don't want to, like, cause people to panic.
Right.
But I do want to encourage people to be prepared.
Right. Which is like, why is our doctors
What
not
if
doing
this
anything?
happened in California? What if this started in Los Angeles, right? What would you do, right? That's the thing. Like, it's the what if scenario that you should be prepared for. You know what I mean?
And that's a great question, IT. So everybody needs to have enough food for their families to be able to be shut up for a while. They need to have enough medicine. They need to have, because say they do quarantine you, like you say it's getting bad and you live in Los Angeles and you don't want to get sick. The best way not to get sick, don't go outside. Right. But unfortunately, the average American only has enough food for their families for 3 days.
That's true.
Yeah, it's about the same. Yeah, I was about to say I'm about in that boat.
And that's unacceptable. You need to start working on that, and do a little bit of
Warspirit. Sorry,
that is unacceptable, John. You make me sick, you maggot. So start off small. I know a lot of people, they don't have enough money to like go ahead and like dump on like all these
rations and things
these huge like buckets and stuff. But so get you one extra can of whatever you're eating, like chili or whatever.
Right.
Get one extra can.
Buy an extra can
every
on
time
Thursday.
you go to the store, and keep it separate.
That's your doomsday.
That's your doomsday stuff. Now, canned goods. Let me tell you guys about canned goods. You look on the bottom of your can, you got your expiration date. Whatever that expiration date is, you can go 2 years past that. No problem. Yeah. And so it's good for a while. So what you do is when you go to the store, find the one that has got the newest, the longest expiration date.
Right.
Like that was put out like just this year, okay? So that's going to last you the longest. And keep an eye on them, and at the end of their expiration date, as you're doing this, kind of cycle your stuff, because get stuff that you eat anyways,
right?
Okay,
right.
And
something
now,
you'd like to eat,
something you like to eat. So now, when you go to the store and you buy your new stuff,
you can
just switch it out. Stuff. Just switch it out. Now you're rotating your stock, so you never get stuff that's going to be bad. So then, if something like this happens, you're good. You got plenty of time. Nothing should be expired.
Right. Especially with something like what we're seeing in Wuhan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it's on that scale, you should be probably fine.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So I recommend it to this is in baby steps, but your first baby step goal should be to have enough food for your family first for an extra 72 hours past what you have. So that means, because the average American family has 3 days. So if you can be able to do 3 more days, now you got 6 days. That's your first step. Second step, 1 month. And then all the way up to how many ever, a good rule of thumb, like the Mormon church actually even recommends this. It's kind of funny. They recommend all their people to have enough food for 3 months without having to go anywhere.
I swear you couldn't get rid of Mormons if you tried, man.
Man, they could make a 4-course meal out of flour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know how that happened.
How did you do that? Yeah. But that's a good rule of thumb that I've always tried to follow. I'm not as good as I used to be, because I lost a lot of my freaking food cache in a flood thing that happened where our storage was.
Right.
But I'm building that back up. But that is a good rule of thumb that's your final goal should be, is at least 3 months.
Also brings me to another tip for canned food, because as a kid I believed that canned food was it would never expire. It would last, to the ends of the earth. Well, canned food you have to be careful with, because if it is really out of date, you have one of the most deadliest toxins known to man called botulin.
Yeah.
It will wreck your stuff. You will die in 5 hours. You will die. There's no question. You're going to die. So, because I knew a guy who had a huge stockpile. It was massive. He had an underground bunker, and he never touched it for years and years. And it was 12 years later, he went down in there, and some of the food had spilled out. This can of mangoes blew up and just melted
rotted.
Everything else. It rusted the cans under it and everything else. And that was one of the things. It's like, well, and that's something, refresh your stockpile, and that's why it's like good to buy those new cans at least once.
Well, it's
you
good
go
to buy
the store.
stuff that you eat.
Because guess what? It's like,
yeah, I got those green beans. I ain't ever gonna eat them.
Right. It's like if big fan of sweet corn. Guess what? Buy sweet corn. Oh, look at that! Wow, it's a couple years past the expiration date. Sounds good. Let's throw it on our plate tonight.
And in a rule of thumb, too, guys, if you do have some stuff that maybe you haven't got around to doing, you're like, it's questionable. Look at the can. Is the can bulging? Mm-hmm. Is there rust on the can, like you was talking about,
discoloration?
John? Yeah, discoloration.
Gross.
Yes, yeah. Is it sticky?
Mm-hmm.
Any of those? Sense, yeah, exactly. Any of that stuff?
Can it?
Can
it? Like can it? As in throw it away.
Yeah, get rid of it. Throw it away. Because it's better to do that. Oh, and here's another thing.
It's better to do that than die of botulinum. Guarantee it.
Here's another thing. Because my grandma used to can a lot, with the glass jars. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's good, and I think everybody should do that. But in a Teotihuacan scenario, be very, very, very careful with glass canning. Because here's the thing. Say you don't know when you're going to have food again. And you got this can of canned salmon. And you screw up and you drop the can. It was your last one. You might be tempted to go ahead and try to eat that, but what if there's some microscopic pieces of glass in there?
Exactly.
Now you're going to have a gut problem.
Exactly.
Okay? So try to stay with just steel canned stuff you buy from the store.
Yeah. I actually never thought of that.
Your other canned stuff, like in the glass jars, that's good for peacetime. Because in peacetime or whatever, you drop a jar, you're not going to eat it. You're just going to scoop it up, throw it in the trash.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in that scenario, though,
it could it's like, I don't have any more. Do we just kind of go ahead and go hungry with our stomachs hurting, or do we go ahead and eat a little bit of this?
It's like, well, this salmon right here on top looks good. Yeah, but you can't see those microscopic pieces of glass that you're eating, bro.
Yeah, right. It causes a stomach bleed you don't even know about.
Yeah. It's a spicy meatball. Yeah. And I never actually thought of that. Like, I actually really appreciate you brought that up, because I do know people that might actually need to hear that. I personally never thought of it. I was like, oh yeah, glass can. That's really cool. But it's like, now that I think about it, oh crap, yeah. If you drop it on the floor, you don't want to eat that. Glass is dangerous.
So speaking of peacetime, let's go into wartime. I believe we were going to move on to 308 battle rifles.
Yeah.
Let's get some fun going.
Yeah. So, as I've mentioned it almost every podcast, my favorite rifle of all time being the powerhouse old-fashioned FAL rifle. The right hand of the free world. It's probably killed more communists than any other battle rifle in existence, other than maybe, I don't know, like it's hard to tell which what more died, like in Africa or in Vietnam. Right. You know what I mean? Because if it was Vietnam, then the M16 probably would have reigned supreme. But either way, it's hard telling. But I love the FAL. That's my personal favorite 308. It's sleek. It's heavy as dog crap. It's not very great for Teotihuacan, because finding parts for it too isn't going to be that great in the United States.
Even the cartridge. Cartridge obscurity I don't think is a huge issue, but it's not as standard in America as it would be.
But that's what we were saying, like DMR.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Warspirit was 5.56 is for the American, Teotihuacan guy, crap hits the fan. Let's say coronavirus completely collapses the country. 5.56 is the go-to because it's common, it's fairly light, and you can carry a lot of it, and there's a lot of guns that take it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's just
a smart choice all around for America.
Boom, and I've heard that argued. Well, but the AK-47 is the most common rifle there is in the world.
You aren't in the world.
You aren't in the world. You're in the United States.
We live in a microcosm.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
This world.
Like, our pop culture and everything is American. You know
the
what I
only
mean?
thing you're going to find
it's
as common as the 5 whatever, the 5.16 is like a 12 gauge.
Right.
So I will give you a caveat to that, John. I will say that the 308 Winchester, which is what the 7.62 by 51 NATO cartridge is that shoots on the foul.
Right.
And all these different battle rifles we're going to talk about here in a minute, is going to be more common than a 7.62 by 39.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because everybody and their dogs that's a deer hunter
exactly.
has a
He's going to have a box of 308.
Yeah. I mean, I know, like, every old fart that I know has a 308 rifle.
Yeah.
If they don't have a 308 rifle, then they have a 6 millimeter Creedmoor? Is it 6 mil?
6.5 Creedmoor.
6.5 Creedmoor, or they have some esoteric hunting cartridge.
30-06.
Like, I mean,
30-06
just some...
is actually still really popular in the United States.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, but they're gonna have something like you've never heard of before. You know what I mean? That you're never gonna hear of again.
7 millimeter 08.
Yeah.
They got a guy.
I shoot 303 British.
Yeah,
it's like,
excuse me, while I go hunt this deer with my gyro jet.
Right. Let me just go scope this deer head off with a Martini Henry. Real quick. I'll be right back.
Oh, I'm lightheaded.
Let me just rip a deer in half.
So, Warspirit, I know you're itching to say something. What is it, my friend?
Yeah, let's move on.
The professional.
Yep.
So, again, we're talking about 308 battle rifles. And so I got some contenders here. Again, you've already heard the love affair that John here has with the FAL.
The FAL.
There's also the AR-10, which is the 308 version of an AR-15, and the M1A, which is the Springfield's deal. So let me tell you this really quick, like, little story, and I heard that we watched a video on this earlier too, but I've also read about it. So in the 1950s, we were actually looking to replace one of our fighting rifles in the military. And the Marines actually fielded the FALs for a little bit. And the reason they decided to go with the M1A is kind of funny because Marines are kind of old school. And there was a quote, "We ain't going to shoot none of that not made in America crap." And so they went with the M1A, which is a good and a bad thing. So the M1A, let's go M1A versus FAL real quick. Your M1A is going to be heavier than the FAL by quite a bit. And this is before the jungles of Vietnam, but the M1A was more accurate than the FAL. Your FAL, on a good day, you're going to get 3 or 4 MOA. So that means a 3 or 4 inch group at 100 yards. Not that impressive. A just stock M1A, and that's not if you have a match barrel and all this other crap from like the factory. Just a stock battle rifle M1A, you're going to get about 2 to 3 MOA. So you got a lot. It's a lot heavier, but you're gaining accuracy. And the Marine Corps, they've always been about their riflemen.
Yep.
And that's another reason why the Marines liked it. It's like, well, I can still hit a man-sized target all the way out to 700 yards with iron sights. It's a big deal.
Just old reliable. I mean, that's just what it is.
Yeah. And again, it was American.
And old Springfield, damn it.
Yeah. And in the 1950s, you got to understand, made in America was a big thing. There was lots of guys that they wouldn't, right all the way up to like past the 80s and 90s, would not buy a car that was not a made in America car.
Belgium? What kind of commie country is Belgium?
I ain't gonna buy them Toyotas. They're made in Japan.
Yeah.
We just got out of war with them.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want no damn car coming from Tokyo.
So that's, you got to understand where that was going with. Right. I do think that the FAL, probably just for your common battle rifle, may have been a good idea at the time for the Marine Corps, but they did stick with the M1A. Now, we have a new contender.
A challenger approaches.
That's right. The Challenger.
Good old Armalite coming to save the swine.
And I'm going to tell y'all something. The new Armalite that and it's just the new AR-10, I'm not going to say Armalite because there's lots of different ones. Right. Actually, DPMS is actually one of the best AR-10 manufacturers, just so you guys know out there, of AR-10s. You're talking about a 308 battle rifle that's 1 MOA with a good barrel. That's a semi-automatic rifle that is as good as a bolt gun.
That's insane.
Yeah. In fact, And let's go back to let's go back to Afghanistan. Let's do 2005, 2006. Our troops over there, the Marines and Army, were finding out that the 5.56 round, out to once it was like 500-600 yards, it was losing its poop, and so they were shooting Haji 6-7 times before they were going down. Well, now you run into, and we talked about, John, about the lighter round, but if you have to shoot him 8 times, having him be able to carry more ammo is not helping, okay? So what they did is they actually pulled a bunch of M1As out of mothball and issued them back to one of the guys in each squad and made them a designated marksman. They put a good scope on it. They put rings for the scope, and sighted it in. And so if they started having trouble with Haji past like 400 or 500 yards, his job was to take care of him. And it worked. Worked great. 7.62 by 51. That's what it's good at. Mm-hmm. It's a full size cartridge. It's not an intermediate cartridge. Mm-hmm. And so it reached out and touched them.
Right.
It fondled them.
Yes, it fondled their hearts and
molested
minds.
their livers.
So it was great. And what they did is they started saying, well, this is great, but we need a new stock for it, and they changed it. And I forget the nomenclature for the M1A that they changed the stock and everything for. Ended up being a pretty good rifle for them.
The what is it? The EBR, I think.
I think you're right.
That's like the modernized.
Here's the problem with the EBR. It's even heavier than the M1A.
Exactly. They threw a whole bunch of metal on it. Picatinny's out the ass. I mean,
they made it even heavier.
Exactly.
And so troops started saying, "This is bullcrap. I got to carry this in Afghanistan, a 20-something miles hike." And so they started looking at other stuff. And some of the top brass said, well, why not the AR-10? And they're like, well, duh. So they started experimenting with them. In fact, Chris Kyle shot an AR-10 a lot in Ramadi.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So a lot of his kills were with an AR-10.
AR-10.
Yeah. So they started fielding that, and they really started liking them. Actually, I think the one by Armalite, they liked.
And has Armalite faded into obscurity?
Yes and no.
Yeah, because I know that like the U.S. picked up their patents for the AR platform, right? And they absorbed it into the M4s, which is now owned. I mean, FN, Herstal. I mean, Colt used to be a big producer, but now it's pretty much FN.
All the M61As and M4s are all FN.
FN, right?
They're all built by FN.
So I think they lost their rights on that, but I mean, it's AR doesn't stand for assault rifle. It stands for Armalite rifle.
That is correct. And so they took up the AR-10 platform, and don't quote me. I don't know if it is Armalite, the one that they was using. Mm-hmm. It might have been a DPMS. Right. That's your two big contenders. Here's an interesting thing about AR-10s. So your AR-15 platforms, I can take any two AR-15s that are broken, take the parts apart them, and make a good AR-15. Mm-hmm. You can't do that with an AR-10. Let me tell you why. So Armalite and DPMS have proprietary parts that are not interchangeable. So if you have an Armalite and a DPMS, you can't make one good rifle. And that's because just they didn't have that modularity there, because they haven't been a military rifle for as long as the AR-15, which is the M16 M4 family, has been. So that's just little food for thought for you there. Just be mindful. Personally, I think the DPMS is a better rifle than the Armalite. For a number of reasons. Your bolt catch pin is usually a roll pin in the older ones, and even in the AR-15s. In the DPMS, they actually made it threaded, so you don't have to like drive that stupid thing in if you're building one from a kit, which is a nightmare. And just a whole bunch of other things. Also, your DPMS takes Magpul magazines. Your Armalite still doesn't. They still have a proprietary magazine. And so I'm going to go with the one that takes Magpul.
Exactly. Well, I mean, even if it's a universal type magazine style, I mean that's what Magpul does is they take the universal, STANAG, the NATO regulation, and they just make it better. I mean that's just what Magpul does. I mean
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. So, along the lines with that, so you have a 308 battle rifle, 1 MOA, with I mean, and that's putting good glass on it. I'm not saying. Well, some can, but I'm not saying you can shoot one on one way if you just, I got my iron sights there, but that's another thing. So your FAL. It is very difficult to put a scope on a FAL. You got to do all kinds of modifications to it. And still, you're not going to it doesn't hold zero very good. So both your FAL and even your M1A does have a better version to put a scope on, but now you're running into cheek weld problems and everything. That's the nice thing about the AR-15 is it's modernized to where you can slap a scope on top of it with that Picatinny rail, and immediately you're going to have a good cheek weld without doing any kind of crazy stuff to it. And so that's another modern thing about the AR-10 that's just so much better for designated marksman. And the reason I bring this up is so we talk a lot about rule of law and all that different stuff, and we talked about how the AR-15 is a good common man rifle. But if you do have a group of guys that are patrolling your community and protecting your community, if it got really bad or something, I think at least one person should have an AR-10 style rifle or FAL or whatever you want to.
Just something that's going to be good.
Well, something that's going to split a man in half if it was up close.
There's 2 reasons for it. Yeah. There's barrier stopping capability, so I can shoot through car doors easier. I can shoot through windshields.
5.56 gonna have trouble going through a car. I mean, not necessarily, but the ballistics of a 5.56 round are just
Especially say you were doing say you have a community and you were guarding the gate. I would take my 308 guys and put them up there.
Yeah, easily.
Because that way you got some firepower right there. Okay. Versus the 5.56.
Right.
5.56 is if you're walking a long ways.
Oh, we got cleaning people, sounds like.
Brief intermission.
They were summoned from the hillside, they were called in from the glen, and the country found them ready at the stirring call for men. Let no tears add to their hardship as the soldiers pass along, and although your heart is breaking, make it sing this cheery song. Keep the home fires burning while your hearts are yearning. Though your lads are far away, they dream of home. There's a silver lining through the dark cloud shining. Turn the dark cloud inside out, tell the boys come home. Overseas there came a pleading, help a nation in distress, and we gave our glorious laddies honor bade us do no less, for no gallant son of freedom to to a tyrant's yoke should bend, and a noble heart must answer to the sacred call of friend. Keep the home fires burning while your hearts are yearning, though your lives are far away, they dream of home. There's a silver lining through the dark cloud shining. Turn the dark cloud inside out. Tell the boys, come home.
Get back to it. Hello, everybody. We're back. We're just taking a short intermission. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up with this 308 discussion, and we'll get into Sasha Marie here in a moment. Was that Krause? Yeah. Anyways, so what do you think, Warspirit, that like the best, as you said, designated marksman rifle is going to be like for the, say you're like having a camp scenario where people are like having to do what you were saying, these scenarios where there's like a squad of people patrolling out and about, and we're considering 308 being the best designated round for a designated marksman. What do you think would be the best gun?
So going back to SAWC, and that's size and weight constraint, your AR-10 is still going to be the lightest option on the market, and it increases crazy amounts if you decide to go, and I know this is like the high dollar end, but you can actually buy barrels that have carbon fiber around them. So they're turned down and they're carbon fiber wrapped. Now these barrels are like $500-$600.
Right.
But if you want to build one to where it is the cream of the crop, now you got a 7-pound AR-10. Mm-hmm. So it's the same weight as a regular AR-15. Yes, ma'am.
So it's the same weight as like a regular.
Yes. So it's the same weight. So I would definitely, to me, the winner is hands down the AR-10. I know the FAL looks cool and it's got all the history, and so does the M1A. But to me, I'm all about usability.
Right. I mean, it's purely, utilitarian.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as your outlook,
Yeah.
we were discussing this during the intermission. You know, he's like, "Oh, I'm kind of biased," and I was like, "Well, not really. It's logical what you're looking for."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Change the picture. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Sorry about that, folks.
That's okay.
Good night, guys.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night.
So yeah, AR-10 platform is good. I mean, again, it's with the Armalite seems to take supreme stage. There's a reason that, because we were talking about best like defense rifle and standard scenarios, the AR-15, and I mean there is kind of a bias on the show. It's like, well, what's the most sturdy, common thing that you're gonna find here in the States? Because maybe if I lived in Russia, I would prefer the AK platform just because I can get parts for it easy. Ivan down the street's got about 20 of them.
All right.
It's fine. But here, it's like Joe Blow Smith down the street's got 20 AR-15 variants. He's got an AR-10 and he's got a Martini Henry.
Right. Well, and funny you should mention the AR-10 and the Joe Blow down the street. Actually, a lot of sheriff's deputies and PDs are starting to carry the AR-10 because, again, they don't have to carry it around. It's in their squad car. So now they got that barrier defeating ability.
Right.
In a round that if they put a frangible round in there, it's not going to have over penetration.
Exactly.
So you might come across some 308 in an abandoned squad car. So it's another pretty prevalent round. Not as much as 5.56, but you're going to find it a lot easier than 7.62 by 39.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool. Yeah.
Anyways, that's that on that. So John, we got an update on Sasha Krause.
Yes.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, I want you to do it.
Okay.
I don't remember it.
Yes. Good night, everyone.
Oh dear.
He's like this deer in the headlight looks like. Ah! Okay, so everybody that's listening, you heard us last week talk about Sasha Krause, and our prayers still go out to her and her family. We pray that she's still alive, and that she could be, if she is, that she'll be set free, right. And that whoever has taken her will meet justice.
Yep.
But the San Juan County Sheriff's Department, they went on their Facebook page, and I just want to let everybody know on this too as a public service announcement. They have received calls all over the United States about this poor girl, like concerns and stuff, asking what are updates and stuff, and they said unfortunately right now they don't have any updates. They don't have anything going on. They have professionals still looking into it. They have not stopped this investigation. But they are still looking into it. But also, they ask to please not post misleading or false information on social media. Because, hold on one second, you can do your thought here in just a minute. With Facebook, they're posting stuff that's like it's wrong. They're telling lies, and so now the investigators are having to pull out these lies rather than look for this poor girl. Now go ahead.
So I was actually going to get onto that. It's around here especially, misinformation is huge. Like, It's like the slightest thing happens, and everybody's just like, they want to do they want to make the most ridiculous thing. I don't know if it's like an attention deal, like you heard it here first, or what, but it's frustrating. Like, example A, when the Aztec school got shot up, oh my God, there's 4 shooters running to every school.
5 people are dead, 10 people are dead. It's like, no.
Like, 5 people are dead, 10 people are dead. There's the coronavirus bullets.
Right.
Ebola's shooting out, like everywhere. And
Martini Henry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shooting up the school, the Martini Henry.
Yeah, and he's got nuclear bombs in his back pocket, It's like, chill. Like, what the hell, guys? Chill. And you're not helping anything. Right. Like, you are a disrespectful little douche. Like, I'm trying my best not to cuss here. Like, what is wrong with you? Don't do that. And I know that, like, high school kids do stupid stuff, and that, that was high school, and I wonder if all these other shootings suffered from that too. Probably, whenever they happened. But, going into that, it's like, stop it. What is wrong with you?
Stop it. Get help.
Yeah, get some freaking help. If you're going to go attention, I don't know, do what all the other cool kids do these days, which is chop their business off and pretend to be the other gender. Right. Don't make up crap and try to... Because, police will look at that seriously and be like, hey, is this an actual lead? And then guess what? You wasted their time, and you actually put this girl or this whoever's kidnapped or whoever's in danger in any scenario into more danger because you're distracting the officials. It's like, it would be like brake checking an ambulance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is wrong with you?
How moronic would that be?
Yeah.
And it goes to show, like especially in modern times, I mean, the actual way news spreads now is phenomenal. To be able to literally just get behind a keyboard or get a hold of a device and know what is happening in Israel, a country that you may never see in your entire life, is insane. Absolutely insane. But it has its drawbacks, and that's what we're seeing now.
You're right.
Is this
Fake news. Yeah.
I mean, as people like to point that out and make fun of it. It's like, but it can be an issue.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because, like, it just simply can be, and that's what we're seeing now, and that's why the police department is like, please stop, like,
quit it, like, what the hell,
quit it out,
like, what do you get out of this?
Right.
What possibly do you get?
Well, and we don't know, like, because they're saying there's no updates right now, but if they have information like on a case, they're not gonna say,
right?
And I don't want them to say, because I want them to catch these guys,
right?
And so, there's people calling in, well, we need more information on this. Well, if they have anything, they're not going to tell you.
Too bad. Wait. Wait. And I mean...
And it's just, I think it's just people trying to be this like... It's like being first on the scene.
Yeah.
Right? I'm the first person to see this. I want everybody else to know that they saw this, and I want them to know that I was the one who saw it first.
Yeah. Right.
Recognition.
Exactly. I want to be known as the person who got the information out there the quickest. And that's what the media... I mean, and yes, it's a competitive nature, but it's also like something I've noticed. Like, even if I'm scrolling through something, it's like, oh wow, I didn't know that was, I mean, I haven't been... I can see where that trap can be created because, you've been tempted, or I've thought about it or something like that, and I was like, I could understand why this could be an issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just how it works. I mean, you can't just change that. You know what I mean? But just as a general warning, I think for the respect of her and hopefully the insurance of her safety, that we just kind of sit back and take a chill pill. You know what I mean? And it's awful, and I know that like something needs to be done about it, and something should be, but how we're handling it isn't.
I mean, like, if you know something, call 911. That's something that like also cracks me up, is people who... I mean, and what's cool is actually, I know that we're like in a rush. Like, are we actually trying to close
we got about 9 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, we still got a bit,
Either way, we started up late today. It was funny to me is, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought there.
Martini
Henry's. I guess maybe the excitement. Oh, yes. You would call 911 if you actually knew anything. People, like, do this ridiculous thing. Even people who actually know information will post on, like... I've seen this before. Hey, yeah, I'm stuck in a rolled over car on, and here's where I'm at, and, I'm bleeding profusely, and they post it to the San Juan County Sheriff's Facebook page.
They did that, really?
Yes. I mean, maybe not, literally, but people have done that with, different police departments around the United States, especially in, the millennial crowd. They're like, oh, well, I'm in trouble. Hey, hey, dear police,
help.
I am being chased currently by a crazy man with a knife. Send. I am over here. Send. And, the police are doing things. They're not checking their Facebook page. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you actually need help for the love of life and the pursuit of happiness, call 911, you freaking idiot. And that's just...
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with her, this Sasha thing. It's like, if you're, posting online, and if you know something, stop, posting online. Call the police.
Right.
And even if you're out there, out where, call dispatch. Or, if you actually know something,
you have,
call
a slight lead, non-emergency. I mean, if you know 911, I mean, just don't be dumb. It's
because people aren't going to punk 911, you know what I mean?
Well, and if you do have, really credible information, the San Juan County, they're not going to want everybody and their dogs to see it. Right. Again, that being able to tell where the bad guy is before, say you said, yeah, I saw him here. Well, if they see it, they're going to go.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember the exact example of that, but I mean, it's the same situation.
That is amazing to me, though, that people have really done that.
Yeah, it actually happened, and it's not even just an American thing. It happened in Japan,
right? And
happened in England.
The thing that I've noticed more and more as I've grown to age on this interesting earth is that common sense is subjective. Common sense to a mechanic, even as far as mechanical things go, are going to be very different from what mine are. And I'm starting to see that in stuff like calling 911. You should. If there's something genuinely wrong, don't post it on social media. And you know what the sad thing is? I didn't even sit back and think, is this real or not? I was just like, wow. I was so aghast that I immediately believed it, and it doesn't sound far-fetched. And that's scary to me. I didn't even question it. I was like, yeah, that person's a dumbass. Oh wait, guess what? That actually could have happened. You know what I mean?
That's like when I first saw a video of, and I thought it was something off The Onion or something. So apparently there is legitimate people now, or they're legitimately thinking that the coronavirus is spread by drinking Corona beer.
Really?
And I thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
Okay. But there was this lady actually that was freaking out and yelling and screaming, saying, going down this supermarket or something, saying, "Quit drinking this! You're causing the." And maybe she was crazy. I don't know, but
maybe she had too many Coronas. I mean, before
maybe
she went in there.
Maybe so. But she actually believed that
Corona
was caused.
You know what? If I was Corona, I would sue coronavirus in China.
Well, there was a funny
China, yeah.
There was a funny meme that I saw. I don't know if it was meme or if it was factual, but I'm pretty sure it was a meme. It was Corona has offered $10 million to change it to Budweiser virus or something like that. Bud virus or something like that.
Bud virus. Yeah.
I mean, but realistically speaking, coronavirus has been around for a long time.
Right,
this is just it's called novel.
We were planning on a show sometime in the future. None of the three of us really like Corona as a drink.
No,
it's a terrible drink, and it's got all the calories of a normal beer, but tastes like a light beer.
Right.
Which is weird. Just drink a light beer at that point.
All right.
Yeah. But we were thinking about we should once we get cameras and stuff, we'll get a bunch of Corona bottles, bust them open, and start drinking some Corona, just for
as a cheers.
As a cheers, yeah.
But I mean, it's so that the spreading of false information is so huge. And the thing that's tragic though is the thing that's scary is what happens. You see Instagram, Facebook. I don't know if Twitter's rolled it out yet or if, any other social media site, but they're starting to implement fact checkers.
Which is terrifying
that is
to me.
horrifying.
Because it's like,
I saw that on Facebook last week.
They would,
like,
yeah, exactly.
what
They
the
would
heck?
there's like a GPS tracker in that little nipple that you have on your tire that, releases air. I don't know, the best way to describe it, best way I got. And they were like, cut it off. Right?
Yeah,
obviously, you don't do that. You would lose. I mean, your tire would,
Yeah, people
deflate.
put these on there for people who aren't mechanically inclined and stuff as
Exactly.
jokes. Or like another one that I liked was, a good way to thaw that windshield? Take a bucket of boiling water and throw on it.
Or can't get the ice cream to come out because it's frozen. Microwave your silverware.
Yeah, I mean,
just stuff like that. And it's like, it's funny. And while that, like, I understand, like, Facebook and all that, they don't want to catch a case. Maybe they're like, because some boomer would be like, well, I found it on this here website and I'm gonna file a suit. And it's just it's unnecessary legal shit.
Right.
And I get that, but you also have like the downside slippery slope with like fact checking is like, what about when facts are correct, but they don't adhere to
an idea?
Yeah.
An idea that
or
like
Facebook standards. I got hit on that today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which don't get us hit on YouTube, by the way. Like this is our secondary deal here, but well, you're absolutely right, but like it's something that was mind-boggling to me. I actually saw a fact check, just to put into perspective here, and this is the slippery slope I'm talking about. Someone shared a joke. Epstein didn't kill himself, that whole joke, and it had like a picture of like Hillary Clinton smiling or something like that, and a fact checker blocked that photo from being seen. So I clicked why, because it has that little thing. You can click why was this false, and it said Hillary Clinton has been cleared of any charges or accusations of having any affiliation with Epstein's death. And I'm just like sitting there, I'm like, fact checker, sure.
Yeah. It's not so much.
Even the freaking Democrats know that something's up.
Right.
Like, dude,
it's one of those one of those ordeals where it can go out of hand.
Yeah.
I mean, take data harvesting, right, to the NSA. By law, any American operating company that has to involve with the internet that transmits or receives data has to, by law, lest they should be shut down, hand over their data at the government's request.
Right.
Jonathan Evigilans, by the state of America, you are declared a threat to everyone around you.
Shit.
Yep. We will see all of your current, future, and past history, right, to see how much of a threat you are. Oh, look at this. Wow, you looked up something that could be, I don't know, we're grasping for straws at this point. We now have a case against you, and you will be locked up as treason against, X state. It's not so much that it could happen now, it's the slippery slope that could happen.
Where I was looking at,
horrifying.
because one of the biggest things, like with Christians and abroad, and anyone really, like that's a male, and it's mostly a male problem, is pornography. And we've, like as a general rule, we've all struggled with that.
Right.
Like that's 90% of men. And so, like, when things start really hitting the fan, men are going to be like, who have repented of pornography are going to be like, this needs to be shut down. And, let's say the monopoly and the deep state and everything else is like, oh, you can't say that because look at this.
Right.
You were looking up horses.
Right.
I was looking up gay midget porn.
Right.
You were looking up midgets.
You were looking up freaky stuff, man.
You're looking up freaky stuff. And it's like, and then they're going to try to like dethrone anyone who hasn't, like, oh, look at that. You looked at, softcore, hardcore. You looked at some crazy stuff.
It's going to be a pissing contest.
Yeah, where it's like,
eventually.
it's like people aren't going to be able to say anything because it's like, well, we got your balls.
Right.
We know what you did.
Exactly.
We know your sins, and you can't speak out for shutting us down because we know that you're guilty of it too.
Right.
I mean, that would almost be like, but like on that same token, it's like, don't be discouraged because it's like a mother who, or, an ex-mother who had, like, say, an abortion, if she speaks out against abortion, that would be like us going and saying, hey, you can't speak against abortion, you had one. Well, no, that would be all the more power to you.
But you could see how it could be misconstrued, though. That's the issue, is that it could be used as ammunition.
And that's where I was looking at. It's like everything wrong we've done. Like, there's cameras all over the place. Everything we may have looked at someone or like said something about someone or something like that, and that it's blackmail. We may have said some racist slurs and jokes, or we've said something somewhere, and the NSA is like, hey, how you're trying to get this like movement going? Well, here, let's go ahead and let's defame you and cancel you out. And
it could be like the poor reporter that called the LA Lakers.
Oh, dropping the hard R on what, BBC?
Yeah.
Was it BBC?
Yeah. Dropping the hard R.
And that poor lady. I feel so bad for her.
I don't.
I honestly don't think.
I don't care about journalists.
I feel bad for her because I don't think she meant to say anything bad.
I don't know.
She really didn't. She got LA Lakers.
But she said it like, how do you mess up that bad?
Well, dude, no. Like you remember that one where the officer was shot or whatever? She was like, DD beg doo-doo. Like, it's just like this tongue tie, you know what I mean? Like, exactly. That was another one. Did you know that? She was like, this massive tongue twat, a little bit of a tongue twat. I was like, oh my god.
Maybe she's got like early onset like Tourette's or something. Like it's just
the need to curse.
Did you ever hear the one where the reporters they wrote it in on her sheet as a joke? And it was Chinese. It was funny because
Some Ting Wong,
holy
Fook,
and all this stuff. And she's saying it like all this like serious,
I mean, but and it's like when you're up there in the hot seat, I could understand why.
Yeah, because you're just reading that prompter. You know what I mean? Exactly. It's just on the prompter, and you're not really thinking about it sometimes.
It's like Will
if
Ferrell,
you do it as a living
Anchorman. F you, San Diego.
Because that's kind of the thing. I think if you were to do it every day, it would like kind of fall into, you're looking at the screen and your words are coming out, but your brain is not on it.
It's okay. Warspirit almost died over here.
Warspirit
he
tilted
was
his chair
leaning back in his chair and he threw his hands out to catch balance, and we just started laughing.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So, that's all that and that.
It's currently 11:04.
We might as well. We might as well wrap it on up. I know we got up to a late start, so maybe one of our shorter podcasts, but that's okay.
I feel like we got a lot of ground covered.
I think we did. We got a lot of information.
It was fun. I really liked that Martini Henry comment. I was trying not to crack up. That's going to be our best moment. Let's scope this deer with my Martini Henry.
like usual, guys, I just want to add in real quick. If you like our podcast, like, comment, and subscribe on it.
Right. We have a Facebook page up now.
Yep.
And that sort of thing, which is really cool. You can go to facebook.com/ITTDM. So I'm trying to think. It's Is Today the Day Media. And I just abbreviated it. You can go to that page on Facebook, facebook.com/ITTDM. And you will find Is Today the Day Media. It's the page with the truck with the cross and some mountains as a cover photo. Kind of getting going, but if you like media and stuff, you can engage with us on our page.
We're a lot more active there as far as news coverage.
Yeah, like throughout the week, we're going, like we're covering stuff. And, this podcast is just kind of our get-together and, like, main discussion between, us.
The weekly review, yes.
Yeah, weekly review, going through everything and that sort of thing. So...
Let's go ahead and end out with a prayer.
Lord, thank you for another successful podcast and that our equipment is working well and fine today. Lord, I pray for Sasha Marie Krause. I pray that she's brought home safely. I pray that they find her soon and that they find her safe and unharmed. Lord, I pray for justice for her captors. Lord, I pray that for San Juan County, I pray for the United States of America, and I pray for the politicians, good or bad. I pray for Planned Parenthood, Lord, that things change and they see the flaws of their ways and how it's a crime against man and you, Lord. I pray for myself, Lord, that you contain my anger and that you guide me justly and wisely as we just go through with pushing your kingdom, Lord, for that is the end objective, as it is in heaven, and thank you, Lord, for everything you do, and let your blessings be new every morning. I pray for prosperity, and I pray for health, and I pray that the coronavirus, this demonic evil that's swept across China, is swiftly ended, and that, Lord, that whatever happens, that you use these trials that we face today to your advantage. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Have a good night, everybody. And God
Bye.
bless. Bye.